Welcome to the Service to Syndication podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication podcast. Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedric Marlowe. I am a U.S. Navy vet. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we interview the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniforms of our great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, the mindsets, and skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more successful, happy, and fun-filled life. I am super excited today because I have with me Mr. Greg Schenk, who is a top-notch commercial broker, tenant buyer, consultant, and educator. But before I properly introduce our exciting guest to you, I want to ask a favor of you. If you get some type of insight, mindset shift, if you learn a new skill, receive inspiration or motivation to go out and take some progress in your life, please share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone you know who might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it on your social media, post it on your wall, or share it in your stories. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who shared this episode, I want to say thank you. Again, everyone, I have with me Mr. Greg Schenk. He is founder and president of the Schenk Company, Central Ohio's exclusive tenant and buyer representation firm. Greg has over 34 years of commercial real estate experience, advising companies on relocations, site selection, and negotiating commercial space, as well as investing in properties nationwide. He holds respected industry credentials, including SIOR, Certified Negotiation Expert, and has completed the full CCIM investment curriculum. Greg is known for his strategic win negotiation approach and his ability to improve client outcomes. For the past 25 years, Greg has also been an educator, speaking and teaching nationally for organizations like the National Association of Realtors, BOMA, Coldwell Banker Commercial, CoStar, and many others. He has received numerous awards, including Micro Entrepreneur of the Year, and induction into the Midwest Real Estate Magazine Hall of Fame. An Evans Scholar and Ohio State graduate, Greg also recently established a scholarship at Ohio State University's Fisher College of Business to support students pursuing careers in real estate. All right, first off, Greg, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here to help all your listeners.
Great. So, Greg, before you became this very successful person I see in front of me, in about 2 to 3 minutes, can you give our listeners a little bit of your backstory, like where you grew up, how was your upbringing, and what in your past shifted your mindset into becoming the person you are today?
Sure. Well, I have a story that can either be looked at one of two ways. My dad left when I was very young, and I was the oldest of 4 kids, and it scared the shit out of me, to say the least. I didn't want to be a burden on my mom, so I started working actually in 5th grade. I actually sold suckers in fifth grade to go to basketball camp, and I became a golf caddy. Some people know what a golf caddy is. So I carried golf bags around for 8 years, and I was fortunate to get a full ride from that in my grades to Ohio State, called the Evans Scholarship, which you referenced earlier. And when I went to school, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew I didn't want to be poor anymore. And I wanted to make my mom proud, who bent over backwards and sacrificed so much for my siblings and I. While I was in school, I was a basketball player, and I wanted to be a pro basketball player. And I had a knee injury that kind of curtailed that very quickly. And at the same time, my brother got sick and died of cancer at 15.
Oh, wow.
And so I had a lot of wake up calls in high school that I wouldn't wish on anybody. It was very, very difficult time, a very depressing time, a lot of anxiousness, nervousness, not the same stress as some of your audience in the post traumatic stress from war, but enough that I was a pretty stressed out guy. But I focused on my goal of getting out of school, and I actually got out a quarter early. I was so tired of being poor. And then it was, okay, what I do next? And I didn't have a clue. And when I got to school, there were no jobs and interest rates were 17%. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. It was a bad time. And I took a job that moved me out from Ohio to Southern California. And I lived right on the beach. And I said, I am never leaving here. It was awesome. And my first job was selling foreign car engine parts, pistons, bearings, and valves, something I knew nothing about. And you're talking to a guy that doesn't like to get dirty, isn't handy, isn't mechanical. All my friends laughed and said, you'll last about a week. Well, they threw me in a machine shop for 4 months and taught me how to tear apart engines and put them back together. And the confidence that gave me was mind-boggling. And within 2 years, I became their leading salesman in the whole country, not because I knew engine parts, but I listened to what the customer wanted. Mm-hmm. And in everything we like, it's really important to be a great listener. If anyone's read the Stephen Covey great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the biggest thing in that book is seek first to understand, then be understood, and listen without the intent to reply. So I found out from our customers that everybody was waiting too long to get the product. And if we opened up a warehouse in town, we'd probably do better. And we did that. And we ended up doing as much business as almost the whole country, thanks to my suggestion. So that gave me an unbelievable amount of confidence. A couple of years later, a friend of mine out of the blue said, I think you'd be good in commercial real estate. And I had never heard of the term, the topic. You could have given me 1,000 careers out of college. That would not have been one of them. And I flew back to Ohio for a friend's wedding, drove down to Columbus, where I'd gone to school, and had a gut feel Columbus was going to grow. And I trusted my gut. I left the beach of LA, moved back, had to pay myself to move back. The company I went to work for was a straight commission position. And I left the job with a company car, an expense account, and a salary. So I went from one extreme to the other. I had about enough money for 6 months. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a suit. I didn't have a nice pair of shoes. I pretty much had nothing. And I had a good work ethic, and I knew that I liked to talk to people. So I set a very high goal, and I said, I'll give it 2 years. If it doesn't work out, I can go back. Well, within 2 years, I became Rookie of the Year and top 5 for the biggest company in the country. So I knew I was on the right track. 9 years later, I did the biggest deal in the state of Ohio, and that gave me the confidence to leave the biggest company in the country and go out on my own. And this past September was actually 29 years on my own. So I've actually been on my own 29 years and speaking and teaching for 30 years, not 25, as you'd mentioned. Okay. And I did that because I wanted to differentiate myself from all the other companies out there. I was the only broker in the state of Ohio that traveled around speaking and teaching to educate people, not to sell them anything, but to just educate them on what's going on. So my whole goal and platform is giving people a foundation for lifelong success, educating them on different property types, whether it's for their company to lease, buy, or build, or as an investor to help them achieve financial security.
Okay. All right. First and foremost, I mean, thank you for that, because, I mean, who would leave Southern California, right, with the company car, expense account, and go back Midwest? Like,
not many.
Not many, not at all.
Many people thought I was crazy, other than my mom, who was happy to have me back closer to home.
Right.
Most people thought I was nuts. But I think trusting your gut in life is really important. And obviously having a written goal is even more important. So many people aimlessly wander through life Then they bitch and moan when they don't get what they want. Well, you're not going to get there aimlessly wandering. The other big thing is surrounding yourself with the right people. I had a really good mentor, and he really tested me and got me out of my comfort zone. It's really important to get out of your comfort zone every day. And trust me, being on straight commission, you're out of your comfort zone every day. You never know when or if you're going to get paid. And I can
Yeah.
go I can go 6 months without a paycheck, and that wakes you up and keeps you motivated pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I think the best thing for your audience, for me to be able to help them, I wish we were live so I could answer their questions, or maybe we could do a follow up and they can write in questions that they have. But
Sure.
the first thing is understanding their own risk tolerance. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. So if one's conservative and 10's risky, you got to know what's going to let you sleep at night and what's going to keep you up. And if you're married or have a partner, you got to know what their risk tolerance are. So, like, I've worked with a group of doctors where 5 were ready to retire, they didn't want to buy. 5 were young and had a lot of medical debt, they couldn't buy anything. And the 5 in the middle all had tons of money and wanted to buy. So, almost in every situation, you got to see, whether it's yourself or with a partner or partners, what are your risk tolerance? What are theirs? Then, how much money do you have? How much cash are you willing to invest? How much can you take a loan for? How much is the bank willing to loan you? How much are you comfortable getting a loan for? How long do you want it in the investment? What's your expected return? Is that realistic in today's market? Do you care what kind of property type it is or just what the return is? And then, very importantly, who manages it? And I tell people never self manage. That's where most people get a mistake. And then, what is your exit strategy? Some people do what's called a fix and flip, where they're in and out in 6 to 18 months, and others do what's called a long term hold, which is usually 5 to 7 years. So there's no right and wrong with any of the things we just went over.
Okay.
It's up to the individual and what their goals are, what their risk tolerance is, and obviously what their financial position is.
Okay. All right. Now let's expound on that because a lot of people will self-manage, and there are other people who totally will stick with third-party property
You
management.
you decide how much your time is worth in life.
Okay.
Okay? So most people don't have the expertise in property management. They think they do.
Right.
They end up losing a tenant or tenants, and they end up losing their whole investment. I
Mm,
can't tell you how many clients I had bought an office building and they lost the biggest tenant in the building and they ended up losing the building back to the bank. Or they bought an apartment complex and they didn't manage it right and half the tenants left. They didn't know what the true rental rate should be. They didn't keep expenses down. They didn't have enough attention to detail. So I'm going to say 99% of the time, you're better off having it professionally managed. It's just like going to court without an attorney. You could do it, but would you be smart doing it? Probably not.
I agree with that one. Definitely not. So, Greg, did your time at Ohio State, being an Evans Scholar, studying business and marketing, shape your mindset for real estate and entrepreneurship?
No, I can't say that it really did. I said when I moved to LA, I got exposed to some wealthy people.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing at Ohio State was the discipline of getting through 4 years, getting up early and getting things done. That you were had the stick to itness to overcome adversity. Like I was really good at math and terrible at accounting. I almost lost my scholarship because of accounting. I could not understand it. And for years I beat myself up over that. And then I realized no one's good in everything.
Hmm.
Again, I'm not technically, I'm not mechanical, I'm not technical. I was a jock, I was a basketball player, so you're not ever going to be good. The key is finding out what you're good at and polishing those skills and keep educating yourself in that area and then hanging around the right people to complement your skills. So have a good attorney, have a good accountant, have a good banker, have a good financial advisor, have a good insurance person. Surround yourself with those right people and you're going to excel.
Okay.
Most people try to do a lot of those things, like they'll do their own contracts instead of having an attorney. Terrible idea. You're just going to get killed. Or they don't know about financing. They don't know about tax laws and real estate and making money. You got to have the best accountant you can because there's so many good tax breaks for you. Just hunt. And again, that's not my strong suit. So I pay accountant a lot of money because I
Right.
need that expertise.
Of course. You mentioned just a second ago that when you were in Southern California, you were exposed to wealthy individuals, high net worth individuals. In this real estate space, we all are, if you're an investor, that is, you're looking for those type of people to potentially become your business partners or invest alongside you in a syndication or joint venture, or you name the various vehicles that's out there. How does one get exposed, or where do people go to get exposed to those type of people?
Well, there's a lot of different real estate groups. Some you mentioned from my background.
Hmm.
I've been investing in partnerships for 25 years. I've got four different groups that I've invested with.
Okay.
So a couple of them sought me out because I was an expert and I ended up helping them find their first ones. And
Okay.
then a lot of them was word of mouth. But there's a lot of different investor networking groups in each market. If people email me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn, I've got people in over 50 cities in the US and 100 around the world. So there's not, like you're in Philly, there's not one market I don't have an expert that I couldn't connect them with for that market. So
Nice.
myself, I own property in like 12 different states. Some of the
Okay.
properties I've never seen in person, but I trust the people that are the general partners and the management that I've done enough business with them. And again, that's where it's going to go into your comfort level, your risk tolerance, and doing your due diligence. Most people, I'd say myself included, when I first started, I was too trusting. And I'm fortunate I've only had a couple deals go bad. But
Okay.
when you're investing 50 or 100 grand a shot, the last thing you want to do is lose it all. But I've got thousands of horror stories from my clients as well as myself early on. So the more due diligence you do, the more you understand the risk you're taking and the potential rewards. And for something like reporting, what kind of reporting do they give you on the property before, during, and after, the purchase is huge. When there's a problem, you want to know about it right away, not 6 months down the road. If you're not going to get a dividend check that quarter, you want to know why. Interest rates changed, insurance went up, tenants left, there's deferred maintenance you didn't know about, there's new insurance requirements, there's new building inspection requirements. There could be 100 things, that change. COVID hits. We had an apartment building in Houston where 70 people filed, they faked their financials and didn't pay rent for a year. 70 people. I think it was a 350 unit building. So
Yeah.
to say we lost them a lot of money on that was an understatement. So you have to have, that's why, again, property management is so important. If you don't have the right people in place, you could get robbed blind
Yes.
for something like that. So knowing the right people. So the group that I've invested with, and there's two or three that I haven't, that I like, that I would if I had more money,
Hmm.
on there. So we do a commercial market overview where we talk about every property type from each person's perspective. So today you can invest in office buildings, retail buildings, industrial buildings, raw ground, apartment buildings, self storage, RV parks, mobile home parks, medical buildings, and a few others. But those are the main ones. And there's good and bad for all of them, and there's good and bad markets and cities, for all of them. But I mean, right now, office buildings, we probably have the highest vacancy we've ever had. So what does that mean? If you're a tenant, you can negotiate the best terms and conditions, and that's what I do on a day-to-day basis, than ever in the last 40 years. If you're a buyer, you can probably buy it at 30 to 40 cents on the dollar. Or if you're a deep pocket investor that can wait out to hopefully the occupancy comes back, you can buy it at 30, 40 cents on the dollar. But most people don't want to take that much risk.
Right.
So everybody needs an apartment. So apartments and mobile home parks are probably the two hottest because they're self-storage very, very hot. Medical very hot because there's too many people that are sick, obese,
Yep.
et cetera. But every city's different, every market's different. So when I work with people, I've got a form on my website, which is my last name, schenkcompany.com, one for tenants and one for investors that they go through. It's kind of a who, what, why, when, and where, trying to find out where have they been, where are they now, where do they want to go, either with their business or their investment. And it's a queue of questions to help them go from a shotgun to a rifle to help them get exactly what they want. And once we understand that, then we connect them to an expert in their city to help them acquire that, whether it's individually or in a partnership. So
Wow.
to really expand on your question, we always have investors that are looking for partners or that can't do it alone.
Mhm.
And there's pros and cons with that. Some people want total control, but
Right.
that limits the scope and the type and the size of the properties you can go after. So if I was doing this by myself, I may be only looking at properties 500 to a million, where the groups I invest with, they're sometimes buying 40 to 50 million because they've got lots of investors, um, going into it. And some of them have been around. The one I invested has been around 25 years. So it really varies.
Okay. All right. So, Greg, as I mentioned, you founded your company, Schenk Company, 34 plus years ago. What experience or insights early on in your career pushed you towards forming your firm?
Well, my old company took 50 cents of every dollar. And there was a lot of bureaucracy. It was the biggest company in the world, 70,000 people, and one person just didn't matter. And the year I did the biggest deal in the state, and I saw how much I paid them, and it was nothing to them. And I said, this is stupid. So when I started my own, I took that 50 cents and didn't change my lifestyle. I invested it. So that's when I started buying both in stocks and in real estate. I paid myself first, which you'll hear other people talk about this. Don't pay your bills first. Invest in yourself first, both
Mm.
in education. Keep educating yourself, whether you've graduated college or not taking college. There's always a course you can take online or in person. Always. Okay. So that is huge. And then I started buying things, and for 25 straight years, I bought a property. So I've already closed one this year. The first week in January, I already invested in another one in Minneapolis.
Wow.
I did one in November in New Orleans, Baton Rouge. I mean, so I've tried literally every year to make enough and save enough that I could invest in a property, and that gives me passive income for my goal, which is to travel the world and help more people.
Yeah, man. I mean, you started the year off great. You're talking about the first week. That's amazing.
Well, again, I live very low. I don't live flamboyant. I don't care about material things. I'm not into that at all. I don't believe in credit card debt. I grew up with a mother from the Depression that was talking about clipping coupons,
Hmm.
saving, reusing, recycling, hand me downs, things of that nature. That was drilled into my head at a very early age. And as I said, I started working very early. So I valued the dollar. I'm still very frugal when it comes to what I'm spending money on. I like nice clothes, but I don't need 100 outfits of nice clothes. I like nice vacations, but I don't need a five-star, hotel. I'm a single dad, so usually it's taking my son on a trip. I said we could have stuff or make memories. Let's make memories.
That's it. That goes longer, further.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Greg, for my listeners unfamiliar with tenant buyer representation, what does it mean to be an exclusive tenant buyer rep firm, and why is that specialization important?
Okay. So in 1989 in Ohio, the law was changed called the Agency Disclosure Law. Before that, it was pretty much let the buyer beware, and the buyer was getting screwed
Okay.
because the seller's agent represents the seller, and the tenant or buyer's person didn't have anyone representing them. At that time, this form you signed said who represents whom in a transaction. So I got in the business about 3 years before then and did both listings and tenant and buyer reps. So by 1990, I'd shifted all my business over to strictly representing tenants, buyers, and investors. I wanted to give people an unprejudiced view of the market. So I get paid the same whether they go to downtown or the suburbs. We
Okay.
look at ourselves as consultant advisors first and resultants second. We're relationship driven, not just the commission driven. So listing agents have signs, and they may have 40 listings and people are just calling off of them like order takers. We have no signs. We're invisible. It's all about our reputation. And again, to differentiate myself, I designed some continuing education classes for brokers, and it went so well in Ohio I took it nationally, so I started getting referrals from all over the country. And last year, I did one deal in Dallas and one deal in Milwaukee, and I didn't have to step foot in either place and made two really good fees there. And I've got these relationships with the brokers from my speaking and teaching so long, that any area that I need help that's outside of my expertise, I can get it very, very, very quickly. So it's a relationship business. It's who you know, surrounding yourself with these other experts. So by working with us, you're assured an unprejudiced view of the market. You're not going to get sold. You're not going to get steered. We're helping you get exactly what you want.
Nice. Now, how do you approach consulting and advising beyond simply just being, brokering space?
Well, for example, people will come to us and ask us an opinion of value of a building. There's formal appraisals, and then there's a little bit lower, which what we do. And people ask all the time, well, the market's changed. What's my building worth now? So
Hmm.
we've done quite a few of those. Or they can't decide, should I lease or buy a building? So we'll do a lease versus buy analysis. Or they'll say, do I have enough money to buy an investment property? What should I do? So there's a lot of different scenarios that we go through with people or with companies, advising them on putting together a strategic plan and then implementing that plan. And I tell people it might take 6 or 8 months to put together a strategic plan, but then when the right opportunity comes along, be ready to pounce. Have all your financials up to date, have your tax returns up to date, have your relationship with your lender. So when the right deal comes, you can pounce on it.
Okay. As I mentioned pretty much in your bio, you've trained in consultation, negotiation, leasing development, site selection, and investment analysis. Like, why did you intentionally build that skill set?
Well, I don't know if I did it intentionally. It's just what I kind of gravitated toward.
Okay.
Again, I never liked selling anything to anybody. I liked helping people get what they want. And then I gravitated toward wanting passive income. So you can get passive income a lot of different ways, but real estate's probably the best. And it's certainly worked for me. Just like stocks with dividends does that too, but there's not the same tax laws with stocks as there are for real estate.
Hmm. Yeah. Your SIOR certification and your CCIM coursework, and you earned CNE designations. What motivated you to pursue these, and how have they changed your practice, or have they even changed your practice?
Well, the relationships you make taking those courses, I met other brokers from all over the country.
Okay.
So I'm the kind of person that yearns to learn, continually learn. You have to have 30 hours every year of continuing education. So there's a lot of crap education. You don't learn anything. If you just want it cheap, you can go online. But this stuff is like going back and getting a PhD. So I have like equivalent of a PhD. The master certified negotiation expert was like 100 hours. I think I've helped almost 900 companies and people over the years. So
Wow.
the higher and bigger deals you want to do, the more expertise you need to have. But the SIOR, I've met hundreds and hundreds of people at conferences over the years. I used to go to 3 or 4 conferences every year, and I was speaking, 2 or 3 times a month and going to
Hmm.
networking events 2 or 3 times a week. So, I mean, I probably worked 60 hours a week for 30 years. And now I'm not working those kind of hours. But so the relationships, it's a relationship business. And the network I've got around the country, I would say, is probably second to none. I would very much doubt if people have. I think I've got 13,000 people in my data bank, over 8,000 on LinkedIn, over 4,000 on Twitter. I mean, I can put out a broadcast email and usually get an answer about something in an hour.
Wow. Now I like that a lot. Here I am, I'm nowhere near the top when it comes to LinkedIn, but I mean, I think I have somewhere around 500 to, I don't know, let's say 600 or so, not requests, but friends, we'll call it,
Yeah, it
lack of a
takes a
better
lot of
word.
work. It takes a lot of
Connections.
work,
Yeah,
and you really have it's literally a second job, and
it
some
is.
some of them aren't worth having, but I want to know that I've got a contractor, I've got an architect, I've got
Hmm.
every vendor that my client could potentially need that I've got a source for it. I had a guy ask me for a Coke machine or a sign person or a blacktop guy or solar lighting, LED lighting, all different kinds of stuff. So you just never know what's important to them, and I try to be a full service value provider for them. And again, I don't know that stuff. I don't pretend to know that stuff. nor do I want to learn that stuff. I stick in my lane of what I know and polish those skills and delegate everything else.
Yeah. Now I have another person that I can reach out to, like, hey, where's the black top guy over there in North Carolina? Let me know
Exactly.
who he is.
Exactly. And if you don't, there's a good chance you're going to get ripped off and taken advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
I definitely believe in that. Making those connections wherever it's at, because you never know where it's gonna go. And those referrals go further than me going to my Google later and putting in blacktop,
Well, I'll give you a great example. I bought my son a house that I thought he was going to go in while he went to school, and he
hmm
ended up not going to that school. So we rented it out, and the tenant left, and we didn't get the power changed back to our name, and they turned off the gas by mistake, and all the water pipes broke last winter and
Oh
did
wow.
a lot of damage. And here I am down here trying to deal with it. And so I had to get quotes for plumbers, for painters, just for everything. And again, I am not handy. So it's like the last thing I wanted to deal with. I was so stressed. And the painters alone, we had bids from $2,000 to $8,000. So you can very easily get taken advantage of.
Yes.
And because I'm a relationship person, I tell them, look, I'm in the business. I could refer you other business. I try to find out, and do you need it cheap or do you need it done well? Sometimes you need it cheap. So sometimes you can use $100 an hour attorney, and sometimes you need $1,000 an hour attorney. You have to judge on, how much of a priority is all these things. And again, surround yourself with these right trusted advisors to help you with your situation because you're not going to have all the answers.
Totally agree. So, Greg, as I mentioned, you're known as a win-win negotiator. What does that look like in practice, and why is it so effective?
Well, going back to that Stephen Covey book, which I live a lot of my life by, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's called Win Win or No Go. So if we beat the landlord up too much with a tenant, they're not going to have enough money to operate the building correctly. So I'm going to find out all the comparable leases or purchases and negotiate to my best of the ability to get the client what they want. And every client's different. One client may want more parking. One may want signage on the building. One may want first floor. One may want more tenant build out. I don't assume ever. I'm asking the client what's important to them. Of course, they all want lower rent. But again, if we get the rent too low, maybe the landlord can't operate the building at a profit. If they don't make a profit, then it goes out of business, it goes back to the lender, and that's the last thing you want. And there's a lot of office buildings going back to the lenders today. Every day I get in my email a sad story about somebody that lost their shirt compared to what they bought it. So that's a big reason why I do win win win. And you get a relationship from the other parties that know that they respect you more, that you're going to work hard for your client, but you want to get the transaction done on there. So it's really helped me out a great deal. They know I'm a straight shooter. I don't bullshit. I don't blue sky. If I don't know, I'm going to take my time and find out what's there, and my clients appreciate that.
Okay. So, you've been in the business for a long time, as we've already mentioned. You can now spend your your winters in Miami, you know. Why is education such a core part of your mission now? You should be sitting on the beach all the time now at this point.
It's a little cloudy today, or maybe I would be, but here's the real deal. When COVID hit and those stupid PPP loans came out that turned into gifts, I got very upset. Unfortunately, there's a lot of lazy people in this world, and there's a lot of fraud, corruption, greed. And I saw three people that I knew that all had money get those things that didn't need the money. So I've been a big believer in financial literacy education for a long time. And I think if this was taught in fourth or fifth grade, it could change people's mindset. And unfortunately, most parents were never taught it. It wasn't taught when I was in school. I mean, I learned it the hard way by having to do it. Nobody taught me to go sell suckers in fifth grade because I wanted to buy some tennis shoes and go to basketball camp. I just did it. So when I knew enough, I said it's ridiculous that our people got to remember the government isn't a bank or your daddy. And once you're 21, you're not under your parents' umbrella anymore. It's up to you. You get out of life what you put into life, and you can get anything out of life that you want if you work at it hard enough. And I'm living proof. And I'm going to tell you, every one of my friends, I grew up in a little city called Sylvania outside of Toledo, Ohio, very small little. My closest 7 or 8 friends are all self-made millionaires. One of them just left a huge company and got a $10 million severance.
Wow.
He got in the cell phone business when it first took off. Then he got an AT&T. Then he got with 3 private startups. Then he went back to a big company, and that big company just got bought out. So I'm a big believer, if the mind can perceive and believe, it can achieve. The first person I ever studied, W. Clement Stone, said that back in the 40s, 80 some years ago. What the mind can perceive and believe, it can achieve. So if you focus on it and you want it, not bitching and moaning, not playing the victim in life, not taking these stupid loans and then you're fat and happy and you lose your work ethic. Too many people never got it. So I went into my son's school and I told him about all the things that I did as a kid. And it's amazing. You could rake leaves, you could shovel snow, you can dog walk, you can babysit, you can deliver newspapers, you can be a golf caddy like I did. There's so many things, the self-employment gig, just the side gigs as people call them. There's so much stuff out there. I mean, here where I am and where I grew up, there's so many damn dogs around there. Everybody needs a dog sitter. And you know what? They make a lot of money dog sitting. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to be a dog sitter.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Right.
I was a golf caddy. I could barely carry the bag when I started. And a big motivator for me was I got to play free golf on Monday. Our family couldn't afford to join a country club or anything. So I got to play free golf every Monday. I met great people. And I'll tell you, one of my first goals, I used to caddy for these rich guys that had these convertible Mercedes. So I told my friends, someday I'm going to have one of those convertible Mercedes. And they're all laughing at me. Yeah, right, right. So I'd walk down the fairway every day chanting this motto: I'm going to make 50 grand a year, buy a condo and a Mercedes before I was 30. And then I changed it to 100. So I'd say 100 condo and a Benz, 100 condo and a Benz, 100 condo. I must have said it 5,000 times. I did it by the time I was 28.
Nice.
And the pride that they gave me was unbelievable. And that's when it really opened my mind to say, again, we're the only ones that limit ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever put yourself down. How you think about one thing is everything. So if you think you're worth $1,000 an hour, you are. If you think you're worth $10 an hour, you are. Want to hear all this bullshit about minimum wage? Minimum wage shouldn't be in your mind. It's how can I maximize myself with my abilities? So you might be handy. You might be an engineer. You might be a coder. Whatever your abilities are, polish those skills, hang around the right people, write a written goal with a timeline, and go do it. And today, there's so much free stuff on the internet. You've got 6 colleges doing free courses online.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Home Depot teaching the trades for free. So with a free library, with a free internet, with free bus service, you're like set up. There's no reason why you can't be successful. Will it take perseverance and determination and hard work? Yes. If you don't have that, you're going to be lazy. Nothing's going to come to you. But if you have a work ethic, I don't care if you went to college or not. There's plenty of people that didn't go to college that are making tons of money. And I told you about my uncle is a perfect example.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to get through to people. And the more we instill that in today's youth, the better off our society will be.
Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, you also an investor. You own properties in multiple partnerships. How did you transition from representation into investment ownership?
Well, I've done both. And I basically saw everybody else getting wealthy. And I said, I'd like to get that too. And I met a person who had sold a company that sought me out and wanted me to help him find something. And I found a property that was off market. And I ended up throwing my commission into the deal. And this man just retired last year, and he had about 1.3 billion under asset of value add apartments.
Wow.
And he built a fund, $100 million fund, where they would go buy a project and then put a mortgage on it so they could buy it quicker. But he got people not only in Columbus, but all over the country to invest with them. And he built up a great track record with great reporting, with great property management. So I was very lucky to meet him and get exposed to that. And then I met a few other people, and it really built from there. But again, my goal was to pay myself first. So every time I got a commission, I would invest 20 to 50 cents of every dollar, either in the stock market or in a property, and not really increase or improve my lifestyle. I paid off my mortgage within 7 years, so I wouldn't have as much stress with that. I haven't had a car payment in 30 years, and I haven't had a mortgage payment in 30 years. So that let other money free up to invest.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
So paying yourself first, keeping your overhead low, not having credit card debt, and realizing every time you buy something, you have to weigh that purchase versus investing it that could pay you dividends. And every smart person will tell you use your dividends, your interest income off of stocks or real estate to buy the material things. Don't buy the material things just off your cash.
Love it. Greg, we could go on and on. Just we barely scratched the surface of this, but we both have things to do, and at some point these podcasts must end. But before I let you get out of here, I have just a couple other questions. So you recently established that scholarship at OSU, as I mentioned. What inspired that, and what impact do you hope it has?
Well, I've been mentoring kids there for probably 15 to 20 years. I guest lectured there a lot. And some of the groups like CCIM had a matching fund in that. So I just tried to get as many people that want to look at the industry in it. I think I've helped 6 or 8 people get in the business. And I've had people work for me from time to time, but most of my career, it's just been me or 1 or 2 other people. Straight commission is very hard. Again, a broker versus an investor I'm talking about now. But
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to expose as many people as I can to the business to be able to better themselves. A lot of people want to go into development. Development usually has a salary when you're starting off with. But my whole goal is to help people get a foundation for lifelong success and expose them to the opportunities that there are. And there are so many today in not every U.S. city, but a lot of them.
Okay. Well, Greg, after 30 plus years in the business, what do you hope your legacy is in commercial real estate or will be?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I've been a good father. I've balanced being a single dad for my son's 22. For 18 of those years, I worked from home, taking him to school, coaching his team. So trying to balance being a good dad, running a business. I mean, when you're dead, people forget about you really quickly, whether they remember me or not. I hope that if they come in contact with me, they know that I've given it my all. I've helped them get really good things, and that I'm somebody that's always there to help.
Well, Greg, it has been a blast having you as our guest today. And as we close out, please tell our listeners where we can get in touch with you, learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now, and just learn more about you.
Sure, and I'd be happy to come back if your listeners send in questions. We could do a Q&A off of that. But my website is my last name, schenkcompany.com. That's SCHENK company.com. My phone number is 614-496-2715. I've got podcast on my YouTube channel, which is just Greg Schenk. We did a half a dozen of them last summer. If you connect with me on LinkedIn under Greg Schenk, again, I've got a lot of free things on my website, including those 2 forums we talked about for users and investors, and a lot of articles. I've written over 100 articles. I've written a book to help brokers that want to learn it. So you can contact me through the website or email me through that, and I'll be happy to set you up with any information. If you want us to come in and do a seminar for your organization or association, again, we do that all the time. We do podcasts, we do webinars, and we also do one-on-one coaching for people that really want it. I've had people fly and stay at my house to just spend the day with me and want to soak up and absorb. So we're here if you truly want to know. And again, I'll leave you with this: is you can get anything out of life if you want it bad enough, and surround yourself with the right people, have the right mindset, and God bless everyone, and good luck in your journey.
Awesome. Greg, I want to thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have provided to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, where we want to add value to you and your investing business. Please tune in to our next episode, where we will interview another fantastic investing professional. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.